In his early days, Caligula represented a new beginning for Rome. Welcomed by both the populace and the Senate, he infused hope throughout the empire with his youthful energy and charisma. At that moment, Rome reveled in his arrival, and the future seemed bright. The streets overflowed with celebration. Citizens who had long felt overshadowed were now brimming with life, exhilarated by the new emperor's succession. The name Caligula swiftly came to symbolize a beacon of hope for the Roman Empire. In the initial phase of his reign, Caligula endeared himself to the people with pragmatic policies and a humble demeanor. Decrees carrying his directives spread throughout the empire, rekindling the Romans' longing for a stable leadership. His succession was not just a transfer of power, but a symbolic heralding of a new era in the Roman Empire. Both citizens and the Senate brimmed with optimism, as if the empire would reclaim its former glory under his leadership. Not long into his reign, Caligula fell severely ill. The entire empire prayed for his swift recovery, but trembled with the fear that yet another upheaval might be on the horizon. Rome began to wonder if more turmoil lay ahead. Physicians attempted every remedy they could conceive, but his condition improved little. Tension reigned around the emperor's bedside, a blend of anxiety and hope as the political vacuum in Rome deepened. Rumors circulated across the empire. What if the emperor dies? What becomes of Rome? This looming dread spread like a shadow, stifling the hearts of many. Miraculously, Caligula did recover, yet something about him had changed. From the moment he returned from his sickbed, a newfound madness seemed to flicker in his demeanor. After his recovery, Caligula began to perceive himself as virtually divine. His authority knew no bounds, and those who opposed him found themselves with no safe refuge. The emperor's grandiose banquets grew ever more extravagant and bizarre. Nobles cowered in fear, catering to his every whim, as Caligula's misuse of power spiraled out of control, unchecked by any authority. Caligula openly declared his own divinity, instructing the populace to worship him within temples. In so doing, he mocked Rome's traditional religious beliefs. Meanwhile, the Senate found itself at a loss. Unable to restrain the emperor's excesses, it stood by in alarm as his tyranny grew more reckless, threatening the empire's very stability. Rome's proud ego began to lose its luster under his reign. Caligula's madness became ever more evident as fissures in the empire started to show. Cassius Turia of the Praetorian Guard could no longer bear witness to the emperor's rash behavior. Discreetly, he enlisted fellow soldiers in a plan to depose Caligula. The Senate, too, crafted its own plans for the emperor's downfall. Within the concealed rooms of an old villa, conspirators solemnly vowed to remove Caligula from power. Though the assassination plot carried enormous risks, they saw no other way to curb the emperor's reign of terror. The drawn dagger heralded the approaching end to his tyranny. A hush fell over Rome as it watched with bated breath. While a storm's silence settled over the palace, fate was soon to be decided, and swiftly so. Caligula, assured of his own safety, paraded the corridors of the palace, flaunting his imperial arrogance. Little did he know his end lurked just around the corner. Cassius Charia and his associates finally took action. As guards converged from all corners of the palace, the emperor found fewer and fewer escape routes. Caligula resisted until the very end, seemingly mocking his assailants, yet the scores of blades converging upon him sealed his fate. In a moment awash in blood and screams, the authority of the emperor crumbled. Thus ended Caligula's reign. The lavish and merciless chapter of his rule collapsed in a single instant on that blood-stained palace floor. The next morning, silence blanketed the Roman Forum. The city, still reeling from the turmoil of the previous night, now had to choose its next emperor. Restoring stability to the empire had become an urgent priority. Claudius, unexpectedly thrust onto the throne, appeared to many Romans as a man from the fringes, yet his calm leadership was desperately needed to quell the chaos and rebuild the empire. Though the empire's symbol lay broken, it signified not only Caligula's downfall but also Rome's chance to rise again. The new emperor would have to devise a solid framework on these very ruins. The Senate likewise resolved to restore order after the emperor's tyranny, rebuilding the pillars of the empire. How Rome would emerge from the turmoil now rested in their hands. Caligula's tyranny vividly demonstrated the adage, absolute power corrupts absolutely. His limitless authority eventually threatened even the stability of the empire, serving as a stark warning. Today, historians and political scientists alike highlight Caligula's example to stress the importance of balancing leadership with accountability. Far from just an intriguing past, his story resonates in contemporary governance and organizational management. Caligula's meteoric rise and catastrophic downfall exposed the political undercurrents within Rome. He went from godlike emperor to deposed tyrant in the blink of an eye, laying bare the empire's internal power struggles. The lessons of leadership endure through time. Many modern leaders draw on Caligula's story to explore how to wield power, because the nature of authority, whether past or present, remains strikingly similar. Fascination with Caligula has never waned. In historical records and artistic recreations, he appears simultaneously as a cruel tyrant and a tragic figure. Scholars constantly unearth fresh interpretations of Caligula's story. Questions persist about what fueled his tyranny and why it ultimately collapsed. From films and dramas to documentaries, his tempestuous life is continually revived through contemporary media. This ongoing interest underscores the indelible mark Caligula left on history. Eventually, Rome rose beyond Caligula's shadow, yet his story remains an eternal mirror of the nature of power and the responsibilities of leadership, continuing to shape posterity's reflections.